Ha, 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 ha. Staying alive, staying alive. Ha, 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 ha. Staying alive. Hey, that song and anybody else has said today? What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Lombardi Time Brews, a special Tuesday edition of Shoutouts and Get-Outs today. Yes, that's right, Tuesday following the Green Bay Packers Monday Night Football victory over the broken and desolate Los Angeles Rams. Yeah, that's right, Baker couldn't pull any magic out this week, and this is one game that the Packers, looking at the final score, they didn't win all that much, but it just felt like this was the Packers game the entire time. It was one of those games that just from the initial kick just didn't feel like it was ever in question. Nothing was amazingly difficult for the Packers. The few problems that they did have, some were self-inflicted, such as, the big hand signal controversy or the throw to Lazard. The Aaron Jones fumble that you would think would have been called because of forward progress, but it wasn't, so he lost the ball. Just a lot of self-inflicted mistakes again from the Green Bay Packers, but nonetheless, in spite of those plays, this is one game that just never felt like it was actually in question. The Los Angeles Rams, we detailed in the game preview just how banged up that team was, just how many players they've trotted out there at all of these different positions. So many injuries at key positions, and this is just not the Super Bowl winning Rams of last year. We knew that coming into this, but now we see it perfectly clear as the Green Bay Packers steamroll the Los Angeles Rams. So today, I've got just a few updates for you from the Packers press conference, Matt LaFleur's press conference today, a couple notes about the post-game conferences and locker room meets last night, and then our shout-outs and get-outs. Now, before I dive totally into this, yes, the Green Bay Packers are staying alive. They have increased their playoff chances, depending on where you look, be it 538.com, be it NFL Next Gen Stats, be it ESPN's playoff calculator. Somewhere right now, where things stand right now, the Green Bay Packers have between a 5 and 20% chance of making the playoffs. Now, if they win out, depending again where you're looking at, it goes anywhere from 55 to 75% chance of making the playoffs. Perhaps their biggest contest, though, in winning out is going to come Christmas. Yes, that's right. They're trekking on down to Miami, where the weather is warm, which Green Bay has historically not done awesome with. But they are trekking on down to Miami, taking on Tua and company, taking on the former offensive coordinator of the San Francisco 49ers, Mike McDaniel. And this is just the Green Bay Packers have not been able to solve the San Francisco 49ers. They have solved Sean McVay and the Los Angeles Rams. We've seen it. But they have not gotten that crux off their back of the San Francisco 49ers. Will be able to do so on Christmas going against the Dolphins, a successor, obviously, of the 49ers system. In order to keep their playoff chances alive, they're going to have to do so. Let's dive into the news of the day. First up, an injury update, kind of a key one, especially for someone who's been playing so well. One of the only players to leave last night's game, A.J. Dillon. Yes, after trucking through fools, getting himself a touchdown, he also showed some concussive symptoms, left the game, but Matt LaFleur said in his press conference today that he has cleared concussion protocol and A.J. Dillon is good to go. That means for sure he should be playing on Christmas against Miami. Number 2, just a neat little stat. It's not going to come up in shout-outs and get-outs. I'm not going to talk about it anywhere else today, but I did want to give it special mention. We've known for a long time, and we have said, get Watson and Dobbs on the field together. You want to see what this offense was actually supposed to look like. As Gutekunst envisioned, as Matt LaFleur built, as everything would have gone according to plan, get Watson and Dobbs on the field together. And we've barely been able to do it this year, first because of Watson's injury, now because of Dobbs' injury, but here we are. Last night, they actually played 13 snaps together. On the field together. Dobbs only played 23 snaps total in his first game back. 13 of those came with Christian Watson on the field as well. And in those 13 snaps, Rodgers happened to go 7 of 7 throwing the ball. And 8 of those 13 snaps garnered the Packers' first downs. All of that info coming from Rob Demovsky of ESPN, but certainly, we've talked about how we need to get those two on the field to show what this offense was supposed to look like. It's bearing fruit. And it really leaves you to wonder, at least for me personally it does, what would this team have looked like if it could have stayed healthy earlier in the year? It may go down as one of the great questions, even years from now when we review this year and we remember the 2022 season was going to be a season of what could have been if those two could have played together more often. Could say the same thing about the offensive philosophy, the play calling, etc., but this is one of those things that we may revisit in a couple years and say what could have been. Number 3, just want to make special mention of this as well. Here are your 5 Packers who graded the highest on PFF following the game. Number 1, Romeo Dobbs. Yes, in those 23 snaps, he also led the team in receiving. He graded out at 89.1 on PFF. Number 2 happened to be A.J. Dillon. Yes, he left the game early with those concussive symptoms, but he was just trucking before that. He had a grade of 88.1. Next up, first round pick, Quay Walker. We're going to be talking about Walker here shortly. He had a PFF grade of 87 after a game where he really kind of did a bit of everything, which is certainly great to see from Quay. Number 4, Elgton Jenkins. Yes, turning in a PFF grade of 80. He, off the top of my head, I didn't write this one down. I think he had 1 pressure in the game against the Rams. Ultimately, Elgton Jenkins is looking like Elgton Jenkins again. Now, that may complicate contract negotiations as we get to them shortly in the offseason, but he is looking like Elgton Jenkins again, paving the way on the run, pass protecting well. Again, he's back to being himself. Number 5, Devonte Wyatt, fellow first-round pick. He was another one, grade of 77. He only played a few snaps again, 9 snaps last night. But still, I'm happier about the 9 snaps than I've been, and I'm going to get to that shortly. But Devonte Wyatt turning in another high PFF grade on those snaps that he plays. So a 77, which is great for a first-round pick, 5th highest on the team of anybody. So really, really strong stuff following this win for the Packers against the Rams. Now, let's talk shout-outs. Let's talk get-outs. I've got 3 of each, and here we go. Number 1, Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Yeah, I'm lumping them together because that running back room has just been great. I mean, even let's throw in Patrick Taylor, who had to come in after A.J. Dillon left the game and gave them some key carries as Jones needed to rest. Certainly happy with that. But Jones and Dillon, here's one stat that I found on Twitter. PackersHistory.com posted it. Over their last 3 games, Jones and Dillon are averaging a combined 184 yards from scrimmage and 2 touchdowns. That's the way this offense was built. That's the way this offense was designed. And by golly gee willikers, it's working. So great to see. They run in such different ways. You don't have to see the jersey number. You barely have to see a body profile. You could just watch these guys run and you know if it's Dillon or Jones. But yet together they are so effective. It just leads the way for the offense. Also, I'm just going to say, last week I talked about which Packers on offense may be coming back versus which ones aren't next year. In the post-game press conference, Matt LaFleur gave credit to Aaron Jones, saying that he, for all intents and purposes, is the engine that makes things go for the entire offense, that he is that guy that they need. I'm telling you, to me, all of the tea leaves are reading that even though Aaron Jones' cap number goes through the roof next year, I just don't see a way that they don't bring him back. They need to figure something out. He is too important yet. They don't have an heir apparent. They don't have a replacement. They don't have any plan for one either. barring some miraculous development out of practice squatter Tyler Goodson or some other draft development. I just believe completely at this point that Aaron Jones could very well be coming back, even though it seemed like such a foregone conclusion that he was going to go. Number 2 in the shout-out category, yeah, that's right, the man, the myth, the legend, the potential future slot receiver, Keyshawn Nixon. Yes, Keyshawn Nixon. Here is one great stat that I just want to share with you from the Packers Weekly Dope Sheet, the sheet of facts and stats that they put out. 5 consecutive games with at least 90 yards on 5 or fewer attempts as a kick returner. Yeah, I'm going to say it again. 5 consecutive games with at least 90 yards returning on 5 or fewer attempts. Happens to be the longest streak of games since 1941 for a Packers returner. No, I mean that's in the NFL. That's not just for the Packers, but a Green Bay Packer is doing this. That's not what we're used to. This isn't normal, but we like it. We like it a lot. So Keyshawn Nixon doing things that hasn't been done in 80 freaking years on a football field. Rodgers talked in his postgame, unprompted, giving Keyshawn Nixon some praise, saying how great it is to have a kick returner who can do things like this. Matt LaFleur saying in his postgame press conference, we don't know why it took so long to do this. We don't know why either, Matt. We've all been talking about it. You should have tried somebody else before. They hung on too long with Amari Rodgers. But hey, we eventually got there with Nixon, and it's working. We're seeing how well it's working. Rodgers noted in the postgame press conference as well last night that the Rams actually kicked away from him. He said in his first 18 years in Green Bay, it's his first time remembering that they kicked away from a Green Bay returner. Great stuff. Now, here's an extra little bullet for you. Matt LaFleur did say in his press conference today, the day after the game, that Keyshawn Nixon has been openly campaigning not to play slot corner, but to play some slot receiver. Well, I mean, that's just fun. So, will we see it? I doubt it, but kind of fun to think about. It's a different level than Raji at fullback, isn't it? But still, fun to think about. And all of the accolades that Keyshawn Nixon is getting as a returner, he's playing really good slot corner too. Last night only gave up a couple catches. Those catches averaged about 6.8 yards per catch. For the most part, whenever someone that Nixon is covering, they go down right away. Tackling, I will say, just as an aside, tackling on the whole last night was an improvement over how we had seen it a few weeks ago. So certainly a plus there. But Nixon is playing some really good slot corner and showing a remarkable adeptness as a kick returner that we did not predict. So, really, really good things. He deserves all of the accolades that he is now getting. Number 3, I'm going to go with first-round pick Quay Walker. Yes, I saw, I'm totally blanking on the name, and I'm sorry, but I saw someone call him the Quay Maker on Twitter earlier. Yeah, after the game last night, it actually makes sense. Last night, he did a little bit of everything. He blitzed off of the edge, forced a fumble. He was significantly more divisive in the run game. Not every play. Don't twist this. Don't misconstrue my words. I'm not saying every single play. He still does have some decision-making problems, but there were times last night, and the announcers, whether you like Buck and Aikman or not, they did take note of Quay Walker being significantly more divisive in the run game, or decisive, I should say. And it's great to see. It's what they need from him. With all the athletic traits that Quay Walker has, if he can get the mental acumen up with it to where his instincts respond correctly, to where he stops thinking on the field, he can be a superstar in the middle of this Green Bay defense. And last night was the beginning to show of what he can be and how he can affect a game in a multitude of ways. Great to see. Now, here are the 3 get-outs, and 2 of these are basically, not even me just chiding players. It's more just facts about how the Green Bay Packers are kind of starting to tell 2 guys to get out. So here are your 3 get-outs. Number 1, former first-round pick, Darnell Savage. Yeah, that's right. He was back last night, except you wouldn't know it if you were watching the game. He played 1 snap. This is a guy who started most of the year for you at safety. Then you tried him at nickel. Well, Nixon is playing better than him at nickel. It's a guy who you already picked up the $7.9 million fifth-year option on for next year. And I noted last week in Who's Coming, Who's Going for 2023 in my predictions, something's got to change with Savage. I don't think he's gone. I can't say that. They picked up his fifth-year option. It's a guaranteed $7.9 million. But something has to change here. And last night he played one defensive snap. One defensive snap for a former first-round pick. Someone who started the majority of the year for you is just baffling. And I'm not saying it's baffling from the standpoint of why isn't Green Bay playing him more, because he's not playing well. I'm saying, what the hell happened? I'm not sure anyone knows. Now, Joe Barry in his press conference last week said, I am still a firm believer in Darnell Savage. And the vast majority of the Green Bay fandom, as soon as Joe Barry said that, went, okay, but why? So ultimately, what's going to happen here, we don't know. But it looks like right now he has been, even in the Packers, completely demoted, completely relegated to sideline duty and special teams. But this guy does not have a role in the current defense. Could that change with a different coordinator? Maybe. We don't know. Depends how schematically they change things. Depends what the hell happened this year. Depends why Darnell is making the same consistent mistakes that he's been making for the last 2 years under Joe Barry. Are they fixable? What is causing them? We certainly don't know, and I don't know as if the Packers know. So, Darnell Savage, time is running short, even though you still have that contract left. Number 2, Dean Lowry. Now, I talked a little bit about Dean Lowry before. I have in the last couple of weeks what's going on with him. I don't think at all that he is a bad player. However, the Green Bay Packers do have TJ Slayton, Devontae Wyatt. Wyatt's been in the higher parts of the PFF grading week in and week out for weeks now, and yet he just can't seem to crack double-digit snaps. And here again this week, great example, 5th highest PFF grade of 77. However, when Joe Barry was asked about Devontae Wyatt last week, Joe Barry made note of Wyatt is still learning to be a professional. I don't know what that means. No one, I mean, obviously Barry and Wyatt know what that means, but no one outside of 1265 Lombardi fully knows what that means. But here's the truth. Whether he's learning to be a professional or not, in his 9 snaps, he's grading significantly better than the guy who you claim is a professional and you're playing a lot more. So, now, I say this is all in the get out category for Dean Lowry, and here's the true get out stat for him. Kenny Clark played 32 snaps last night. Jerron Reed played 28. So you're looking at an average of 30 snaps for those two, right? Dean Lowry played about 10. TJ Slayton played about 10. Devontae Wyatt, 9. So they basically, they evened it out, right? You've got Clark at 30, Reed at 30, and then you got these 3 guys together for 30. And combined, there's your defensive line. But that's a departure from what they've been doing. Lowry, over the last few weeks, has been closer to that 20 range. And I know that they used fewer defensive linemen in this game than they have the last couple of weeks, and that may have an effect on these numbers. But nonetheless, we have not seen Dean Lowry be essentially equal in snaps to Slayton and Wyatt before. This is a new development. Was it matchup specific? Maybe. Is it a trend for the future? Maybe. We need one more week or more than 1 week of evidence to truly make that proclamation. Number 3, get out. Get out. Get out of here with your nonsense. Rasul Douglas. Okay, this year in terms of coverage has truly felt like a year that Rasul Douglas has just been caught in mismatch after mismatch. We've seen him get burned again and again by small, speedy receivers that he has no business covering. They're not his type. But last night he was lined up against a tight end, Tyler Higbee, and I don't know whose fault this is. I don't know if this is on Douglas. I don't know if this is on Joe Barry for being SOFT soft. But the point is, ESPN flashed the cute little graphic of the Rams haven't thrown a touchdown to a tight end all year. Let's watch what happens. And then, of course, 4.6 seconds after that, Baker Mayfield drops back and throws just a It just was a drop in the bucket to a wide open Tyler Higbee standing in the middle of the end zone, just right in front of Rasul Douglas. There was no chance in hell Green Bay was going to cover that play. Why are we playing so far back? But besides the point, Rasul Douglas is not having a great year in coverage. I think it's a year that he has not been matched up to play to his strengths a lot. Given the safety outlook, the position next year of safety, I will not be surprised at all if Rasul Douglas makes the switch to safety. I'm not the only one who thinks that. I know it still is a bit of a bold prediction. However, what I'm saying to you is I think it's entirely possible that Rasul Douglas moves to safety next year. And that's just one example why. And again, I don't know if that was on Barry. I don't know if it was on Douglas, but it was uncontested. It was an uncontested touchdown. Something the Rams have not been able to get at all this year to a tight end. Quite literally, 0. And then we gave it up because we were feeling charitable in December, I guess. And then, yeah, the lateral. I mean, look, split-second plays like that, I always find it difficult to just bash so hard on that. Like, you knew what he was going for, right? As he was getting spun like a top with his T-shirt. You knew what he was going for. But, bro, just, no, please no. Don't do that. Like, the Green Bay Packers are playing way, way too thin of a line. They are playing with far too small of a margin for error and desperate to get every win that they can to make the playoffs. You can't be doing that. Not when you got a lead. Not when you're looking to close this thing out. Bro. Oy. But is what it is. The Green Bay Packers did get that victory on Monday night over the Los Angeles Rams. And now we look forward to Christmas. Yes, we look forward to the Miami Dolphins taking on the Cheetah Tyreek Hill, taking on Tua, taking on Waddle, taking on all of that speed in a warm environment. I don't know. It's going to be fun. I will say that. It's going to be a fun Christmas Day game. So, I will be back tomorrow. Yes, this one's going out on a Tuesday, so I'm going to be back as normal tomorrow, putting out a video for you about the Green Bay Packers. And then on Friday, I will be putting out the game preview for Sunday's matchup against the Dolphins. So, join me the rest of this week here on Lombardi Time Brews as we are talking all things Green Bay Packers all the time. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you had a great day today. And as always, go Pack Go.